All right, welcome to the Snide Report. I am your host. As you can see next to me, our guest tonight, State Senator Rodney Pol. Am I saying that right, Pol?
That's absolutely correct.
Because I've been known to mess it up.
No, yeah.
Not your name, but others.
Well, for 3 letters, you would be surprised how many different pronunciations. And, sometimes people think it's an I. Sometimes when it's written, they think it's an E. So I've been called for 3 letters. I've been called
Po, poi, all those good
Poi,
things.
Po. I get polk a lot, so.
Well, we are interrupting your fantasy football draft tonight. We will, you can keep us abreast on how that is going as we go along.
There's more important things than fantasy football, but if I could say anything, I am a multitasker.
Now, what district do you represent? Because all I know is it's Karen Talion, who is a longtime sponsor of our newsletters. You took over her district when she retired, and you've been reelected once or twice.
Once. I went through a primary and a general. So I took over in 2021. District is up in Northwest Indiana. It's District 4. So
the region as
region,
as you guys call it.
Yes. Very, very proud. Very, very proud people. So my district, I get to be the only state senator that gets to brag that I have the only national park in the state of Indiana in my district. It's fully encompassed in my district. So
The dunes. We were up there last year.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, it's so as part of that, a lot of legislatively, like a lot of the things that I try to get done, protecting that, making sure we're saving lives out there. But yeah, my big cities are Michigan City, Portage, Chesterton, and then a lot of the Dunes communities. So just north of Valpo, just east of Gary. So it's it's the region is wild. I mean, it really is kind of like a microcosm, not only of just the state, but kind of as of the country. I mean, very diverse. Everybody from everywhere came up here to work in the steel mills. So, both my grandfathers, one was Mexican, one was Puerto Rican, both served in the military, in the 50s, and then that's where the jobs were. So they were both union steel workers that worked both 37 years, and had great families, great jobs, supported them, and built the were part of a really great community up here. So that region experience is definitely unique.
Now, so are you a Bears fan?
Oh, big time. Big time. Big time. Bears fan, Bulls fan, Cubs fan, Hawks fan. I mean, it's the nature of it. A lot of people always, kind of give us, grief about it. Like, well, you're from Indiana. And it's like, we grew up with Chicago radio and
Yeah.
and for me, I grew up with the 85 Chicago Bears. Was like, I was born in 84, but like, as everybody knows, it wasn't just good for that 85 year. We're still riding the coattails on that season. So, we were Bears. I was a Bears fan growing up. I had some greats there, and then obviously the Bulls dynasty in the mid 90s. And we've had some good Cubs teams, some good Sox teams and whatnot. So it's a sports town through and through.
Plus, you have the Pope.
Plus, we got the Pope now. I mean, man, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
God is on your side.
Weird. I was sitting there watching the news, which I very rarely am, like watching TV and watching the news. And it was like, I remember, a couple months ago, just breaking news, and the Pope is it's an American from Chicago, and I'm like, all right, I got to be dreaming. There's nobody that saw this one coming. So far, pretty great results.
Well, when we take a look at the region, I recently had Colin Allred, former congressman running for U.S. Senate in Texas.
Oh yeah.
And Beto O'Rourke on the podcast, different times, of course. But they came on to talk about how they were fighting redistricting in Texas, what the legislature was doing there. They have a little more options than you, but as we look to, I'm not going to say probably, we will get a special session.
Yeah.
We will get redistricting, trying to take away the 2 congressional districts that Democrats do hold. One of those up in your district is the 1st congressional district. A friend of the show, Frank Mervan, I've been on the show. He's the congressman now, but they're looking to redistrict to to get a Republican elected up there, and then maybe carve up Indianapolis into 3 or 4 different districts and get rid of Congressman Carson. So I guess before we get how you fight it, what are your thoughts as this picks up steam here in Indiana?
For me, it's really, really frustrating because one of the common themes that we hear, and it's one of the things that kind of Republicans will flaunt is that, oh well, you guys aren't getting your way or you're not getting your policies passed. Well, that's because elections have consequences, and for me, it's you hear something like that and you're like, okay, fine. Then we got to do our best to put our best policies forward in order to ensure that that those, that we're beating those consequences, that we're going to overcome that. And really what's the most frustrating part about this is an attempt to ensure that elections don't have consequences. I mean, and it's not like oh, well, that's, kind of a byproduct. No, that's the entire intent. The elections will not have consequences. We will win in the midterms because President Trump wants us to win in the midterms. And, it's just so backwards, because for the longest time, I grew up, throughout these, late 80s and 90s and 2000s, and the Republicans were always the party of small government. It was always the party of,
Kind of shot that all to hell.
yeah, like states' rights, this idea that, we weren't going to listen to the federal government. It didn't matter who it was. We were going to be the ones that ensured that, this people were represented at the local level. And this it's a slap in the face to that. I mean, it's very, very clear, and it's very blatant and as blatant it can be. We want to ensure that nobody's going to have to, that the president and Congress isn't going to have to answer for these terrible policies that haven't brought down any prices, that have ensured that, energy prices have stayed up, that have ensured that, gas has remained high, that grocery prices, everything that
Hor-
this,
Horrible.
yeah, that the Epstein files haven't been released. I mean, you name it. Every single promise that was the main campaign, points has just, has just all gone to hell. I mean, none of it has occurred, and they know that people are pissed about it. They know that these policies, they know that they're not meeting these promises, and as a result, it's, hey, well, instead of us, having to face the music like we have to all the time, we're going to go ahead and do this midterm. And I want everybody to realize this. This is not redistricting. Redistricting happens every 10 years with the census in order to ensure that the populations have been fixed. This is rigging. I mean, plain and simple. This is rigging. This is not redistricting. Those are two completely different things. I mean, this is out and out, outright just rigging of an election. So,
I mean,
yeah.
can you imagine if they would have ran on this? Or, if Mike Braun was out there saying, we are going to rig our elections in the midterm
Yeah.
because our president sucks so bad. Matter of fact, we want hamburger to be $7 a pound. We want gas to say about $3.50. I don't know what it is up there. Here it's still about $3.50.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to make sure we kick the neediest people off of Medicaid.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to kick people out of nursing homes because they should have planned better.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be.
I mean, you can go down the line. Can you imagine if they would have run on that?
Well, it's exactly. I mean, even from like immigration. Immigration's a hot button issue, and you've got a lot of folks out there that'll tell you, oh well, this is what we voted for. Well, no, remember we're supposed to be going after criminals.
Criminals, the worst.
Yeah, we're not chasing down people at their place of work or going and waiting at elementary schools and ripping kids out of schools and ripping families out of schools, or going to immigration court where people are going through the process the right way, or students that are on student, that it's crazy. This was not what anybody ran for. And, talking about wasting billions of dollars on these encampments that, have just absolutely been a nightmare, just human rights violations. I mean, right off the bat, anybody could have looked into that and just gone, okay, yeah, this is going to go belly up very, very quickly.
I think when people look at that and what's happening, I think a lot of people, I didn't sign up for this. I may have signed up for gang members, not landscapers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, between that and then also we've got, like for us up here in Northwest Indiana, we have, the newest issue that we're starting to see, I'm starting to get an issue here. It says device storage was running low. Oh, what is this?
That's not good.
No, it keeps, as long as we're rolling, we're good. But yeah, either way, for us in Northwest Indiana, one of the big issues that we've had recently is the Michigan City prison. That under Holcomb, that was guaranteed, or it was promised. It was a letter of intent. Hey, the state is going ahead and moving forward with with an effort to close the prison because we're ultimately going to develop this land and we're going to give it back to Michigan City. And we voted to give $1.2 billion, essentially a $1.2 billion check over to the DOC to build the new Westville prison. And so, as part of that, it was like, okay, great. We've got this whole, brand new prison that we spent all this money on. We're going to be able to consolidate these two prisons. And then we're going to be able to turn what was, a pretty terrible site for us, as far as from the standpoint of where it's at residentially. This prison is the only prison in the state of Indiana that's covered by residential areas. So we're looking at this and going, okay, we're finally going to get this area, back. We're going to be able to development. Housing is such a big issue up here. We literally cannot keep housing stock in. Michigan City is one of the hottest real estate markets. You got a great mayor. You've got tons of money that's being spent, ready money that's being spent on planning and development of this. And then all of a sudden, you got Braun that says, oh, we're going to take that back. We're not actually going to follow through with that letter of intent. We're going to keep that open. And the big word for us is that it's going to be used for immigration, that it's going to be used as an ICE detention center, which if they would have run on that, I can guarantee it. Everybody in LaPorte County is voting for that because they're going, wait a second, we need housing. This prison is, in Michigan City in the city proper limits, and it butts right up to the national park. Why is there a prison? Why is there a 60-year-old prison? Why are we still operating this? Particularly when we got a 1.2 billion one down the street that is big enough for it.
Yeah.
So I could tell you right then and there, if you ran on what you were actually going to do, they do not win. They just do not win.
Senator, can you hold through a quick break?
Sure, absolutely.
You're listening to the Snide Report. I'm your host, Gary Snyder. We'll be right back. All right, this is the part of the Snide Report where we thank our sponsors, and we have a growing list. So let's start with Robin Winston. Robin has been there when we first sent out our first email, 147 subscribers. We're now over 108,000. So thank you, Robin Winston, and helping us get the podcast going in the right direction. Next up is our good friend, former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson. Her book, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America. Get that anywhere you buy your books. Also, former two-term governor, two-term U.S. Senator Evan Bayh. Evan has been a sponsor of the newsletter, now jumps on board with the podcast. Congressman Andre Carson. Congressman Carson has been there from the start. We're glad to have him over here on the newsletter now. He needs your help to win re-election next year, so make sure you support Congressman Carson. Next up, State Representative Cherish Pryor. Cherish has been there from the start on the newsletter, joining us on the podcast now. So is State Senator Greg Taylor. I want to thank Senator Taylor for all of his support through the years. Next, we have a couple of new sponsors. First up is Indiana Citizen. You want to check out their new project, One Heartbeat Away. Do Christian nationalists have an agenda for Indiana? All you have to do is look at the lieutenant governorship and you can see right away that they do. So thank you, Indiana Citizen. Next up is Jump Laundry. You can visit them at jumplaundry.com. They have home pickup. They do your dry cleaning, wash and fold with, I might add, no judgments, and next day service. So if you're in a crunch for time, you don't want to do your own laundry, get a hold of Jump Laundry at jumplaundry.com or at 317-740-5011, and they will take care of all of your laundry needs. Welcome back to the Snide Report. I'm your host, Gary Snyder. We are speaking with State Senator Rodney Pol tonight. You want to give us an update on your fantasy football picks?
So yeah, as of right now, I've got Jamar Chase, Lad McConkey, Chase Browns. I went double Bengals out there for all you Bengals fans. I had to those value pick. I got
Bungles. It's the
RB.
Bungles.
Yeah, then I got DJ Metcalf or DK Metcalf. I'm hoping that he and Aaron Rodgers can put some old man magic together over in Pittsburgh, and then Pat Mahomes is my quarterback. So
I'm, I'm
it's
shocked
moved.
you didn't take Danny Dimes here in Indy.
You know what? He's one of those sleepers. He's good for garbage time. Danny Dimes is good for garbage time.
We when I was an anti-money laundering officer for a major bank down in Cincinnati, and I had to endure the Bungles for more than I care to. Bungles fans, and they are almost as obnoxious as Ohio State fan. So not
Hey,
quite, but
Bears fans will give you a run for your money on him not.
my brother and my mother are Bears fans. We grew up, the 70s.
Oh yeah.
It was, you had 3 channels and they showed the Bears every Sunday. I was a Steelers fan. Every once in a while we'll get a Monday Night Football, but yeah, my brother's insufferable. Even my 75-year-old mom is just horrible about the Bears. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, before we went to break, we were discussing a little bit about the redistricting. So, what can you as Democrats in the state Senate do? Because you are in a super minority. They don't even have to open the doors and let you in.
You're right. We're definitely not where Texas was. Texas, there was they had the concerted effort. They essentially did what the Democrats did when they had enough to break the supermajority with right to work, which was they left the state. Come and get us. We're not going with this ridiculous plan. Particularly with them, they were getting called into special session and whatnot to do this. So they were we don't have that luxury. They can operate without us. So we're going to have to we're just going to have to take the fight directly to them, and in some instances, I would go ahead and say it's not even, I don't think that fight is going to be all that hard. I know that there are Republicans on the other side going, we don't have, we can't do this. We're going to go into special session, not to fix utility prices, which are outrageous in the state.
Oh, I know.
You
I
know,
know.
not to fix what we've done with Senate Bill 1, which is an absolute bungle where nobody's happy and everybody's worried about what is actually going to happen. Is this, essentially this defunding the police, defunding the parks, measure. We're not going to fix housing. We're not going to fix, the problems that we're having with Medicaid, and the potential, the loss. I mean, when we ended up passing legislation that cut Medicaid at the state level and then had it done at the federal level as well thereafter, which we told them this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So, for all of those purposes that are the most specific things that are actually having the huge impact on real Hoosiers' lives, the idea that we're going to go back into special session to help one man keep power, even though he has not earned it. I mean, that is, I think, what a lot of, both moderate and, and I think well-intentioned Republicans are going, we can't do this. I mean, I saw the statement from Senator Walker. I thought he had a great statement. I thought he was absolutely correct. What you're going to end up seeing with this is if they if they move forward with this, they're going to be really just kind of dragged through just dragged across the state, and for doing this. I mean, I think that's going to be really a very, very problematic for them, and for a number of reasons. One, obviously, like this disenfranchises Marion County and the region, the two minority strongholds throughout the entire state. So that is going to be very, very problematic for them. That I think that they're going to have to try and figure out a way that they're going to have to spin that, or not even spin that, but get that through without the I think really what's going to be more of a problem for them going into the midterm than they realize.
Right.
Other than that, I think that they're going to hear it from their own constituents. Looking at the polling right now, where it's the majority of Hoosiers, we know that is the majority are, technically Republicans. They're not happy with this. They don't want this. They think that this is going to be, a problem for them, and they're looking at this going, yeah, this is this is something that they're just never going to, they're not going to accept as what should be prioritized at this point.
But is it something they pay a political price over, though? They're going to do it. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
It'll either be 9-0 or 8-1. I have no doubt they're going to do it. And they'll keep doing shit like this until they pay a political price, which they haven't for all the shit they've done up to now.
Yeah. You know what? I think, looking back at 2022, when they, when they brought us back into special session after the overturning,
Right.
I think that, we as Democrats just assumed this was going to be, they were going to pay a political price for that. And really, they, looking at how the races ended up turning out, they didn't. And, that is, for us, that was, I think, a hard pill to swallow. And I don't know if that was because the messaging was bad, if it was, too many eggs in one basket, or if really, like, when it really came down to it, whether or not Hoosiers, enough Hoosiers were impacted by that,
Mhm.
that they felt like, okay, well, it's time to, to turn tail on this and go with a different party. The problem is that in 2022 we were under a Democratic president, and at the same time you still had this beating of the drum against the presidency for them. Now it's, you've got Trump in. We're essentially we're essentially the laughing stock, where it's just calamity after calamity after calamity. And now on top of that, we're talking about giving more power to this failure. If we as Democrats cannot seize that moment and seize the
Mhm.
messaging on that, that's us. That is totally 100% on us. That is
I think
the,
my fire's going out.
yeah,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, but I think for us, that would be such that would be, I think, such a brutal loss if we cannot turn that into the opportunity to really bring people back into the fold and bring people back into the party. That to me is at this point right now, that is what Democrats have to be focused on, is, demonstrating, why turning over more power through redistricting or rigging at this point right now, um, you know, is case in point, failure in and of itself, or its admission of failure in and of itself. So that's on us if we cannot turn that into getting
Right.
people to right the ship.
Well, I have, before we let you go tonight and you can get back to your draft, because I mean, this is literally the greatest time of the year. I mean, we have football starting last weekend, and it is every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday, all the way through February now. So, best time of the year. But our sponsor, your cohort in the Indiana Senate, Senator Andrea Hunley, asked me to not only talk to you about redistricting, but to talk about, she goes, well, he's the one that knows about music, so let him talk about this upcoming Save Our State concert event that's coming to the Hi-Fi Annex in Indianapolis at the end of the month.
Yeah, yeah. So the Save the State is this was kind of the brainchild of watching what was happening across, across our state and across the nation,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing, I think part of me maybe grew up in the wrong generation, where you saw counterculture that had such an impact on politics. And some of my favorite artists growing up, definitely had political statements in their music, and one of those is a band called Parliament Funkadelic. Parliament has some really, really great albums, one of which is called America Eats Its Young. It's a message that I think is true to this day, when we see the infant mortality rates and the maternal mortality rates, and kind of, they were really, I think George Clinton, for all of his wildness, was kind of ahead of his time in his messaging as far as his political commentary and his social commentary. And I'd started a band a long time ago called, America Eats Its Young, in
Right.
reference to that album. And, it started as just a one-off band just to have some fun with. But at the heart of it, there was this undercurrent of, how, they have some amazing songs, like, everybody's going to make it this time, and these uplifting messages of, the power that the whole has, the power that the people have. And it's something that I truly believe in. And I think that, really the best changes that happen in our society come from that power in numbers and that strength in numbers. And you started to see with, like, the No Kings protests and all these people were getting very, very energized and getting out in the streets and voicing their opinions in a way that we hadn't seen in several years. And, to me, it was, and a lot of people were, they're out there and they're very upset and they're extending a lot of energy. And some people, it's the first time that they've gone out there and they're saying, well, things aren't happening quickly enough, or things aren't, it's almost as if, these folks have all of this energy to expend, but they're just going out there and protesting and assuming that that's going to be the change. So it's like, you know what? Let's get these folks together. Let's do something positive. Let's essentially bring people together to demonstrate, hey, we not everything has to be a protest. We can do things for, we can get together for positive reasons. Yeah, different organizations to show up so we can put these, we can mobilize these people. Now we need to organize these people. And so that, what the idea of Save the State is, have people come out, have fun, meet your state legislators, meet some of these organizations, and get involved. Don't just assume that if you go out and hold a sign out on the street, things are going to change. You're going to have to get involved and organize in a meaningful way. And so this was our attempt to ensure that people had, one, they could come and have a good time. The Democratic Party needs to be the not the moral police, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They need to demonstrate we can have a good time, that we've traditionally been the party that has a good time. So this is essentially that our effort, and the way that I look at it is an effort to really kind of demonstrate that to to the state and get people energized and organized in a positive way.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because my son is just an amazing guitar player. Played the national anthem, I think, 5 times now for the Pacers. Did a game 5 against the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Does his best. He takes it a different way than Jimi Hendrix did.
Okay.
But he is kind of, I'm not going to say he put his electric guitar down and picked up the acoustic, but I hear him out in the garage now, instead of just doing, your high pitched guitar riffs from the 80s and things like that. He's playing some of those 70s, 60s protest songs, writing his own that kind of mirror that. And it's kind of weird to see that transition. I don't even know if it's a transition, because, he'll work for hours on a song, and that is definitely anti, I don't know, government, if you will, right now.
Sure.
And then pick up his guitar, and you hear Sweet Child of Mine just screaming out there.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that it always warms my heart to see kids picking up instruments anymore, because I felt like for a while there, I wasn't seeing bands. I grew up playing like in punk rock bands and and in metal bands, and then jam bands.
You play guitar?
I play bass.
Bass. Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, for the longest time, we'd all have these bands, and then we'd stop seeing them. And I'm starting to see these kids, pick up guitars again and get in the garage. And it's to me, I could talk to you all day about music and really how that, how it moves people, particularly younger people, into, it just into, different things culturally, and really the impacts of that. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to kind of learn about and study and see, looking at like the explosion of bands in the post-industrial area, particularly in cities like Cleveland and all these places where they had strong public schools that had music programs before they were all defunded with the Nixon the Nixon administration. You had some of the best music that ever came out, and it was out of that era when, people were doing well and families were thriving and people could afford a house with a basement and afford instruments. And then all of a sudden these kids are all, instead of out in the streets doing drugs or fighting, they're in the basement playing, in bands and creating the greatest music and competing with each other and stuff like that. It's like, you could tell a lot about a society where that music comes from and why it's being created and how it's being created.
He picked up the guitar, started teaching himself. And I remember, because I played Division I college football.
Oh, nice.
And he wanted to play football his freshman year. And so he went out, and they moved him to defensive back, and he's like, Dad, how do you tackle the people that are bigger and stronger? And I said, number one, you need to be bigger and stronger than them, which you're not. And number two, you just have to say to yourself, this is going to hurt a lot. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to play guitar. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I miss football, but I very much appreciate that I kept playing music.
You can get tickets to this, the Snide Report. I think we have a link on there, a nice little banner, so you can get tickets there. Anything else before we go, Rodney?
Yeah, you got the Midtown Madmen that are going to be playing as well. They're a great band. They're from Indianapolis. They play
Okay.
all over the place though. But yeah, it's at the Hi-Fi Annex. I think it's going to be the last show at the Hi-Fi Annex, potentially ever. I know that they're closing it down this year. Don't quote me, but I think it is going to be maybe one of the last shows ever at
Really?
the venue. So definitely come and check it out. That's been kind of a really cool venue over there in Fountain Square. I know that they're in the process of building something else, but that's helped really develop that area down there, as and put it on the map. Fountain Square is kind of like
Hmm.
a nightlife spot. So definitely come out, enjoy yourself, meet some great people, get involved, listen to some great music. It's a Sunday. We're hoping for some good weather, but it'll be rain or shine, and we're just excited to see everybody out there. And we want to do this every year. That's the other thing is, we want this to grow. One of the main reasons that that I thought about this was the IBLC used to hold the barbecues over at the Madam Walker, and they did it every year.
Hmm.
And I realized there isn't anything like that anymore. There wasn't anything that like the legislators did, or anything that like really got people together in a way that, and everybody's welcome. Like in my band, I've got Republicans in my band, I've got libertarians in my band. I don't want folks to think, oh, well, this is just some crazy lefty thing. It's definitely not. It's for anybody. It's for anybody and everybody that wants to get involved. So, and have a good time.
Thank you, Rodney.
All right, guys.
I'm Gary Snyder. He is not. He is State Senator Rodney Pol. This is the Snide Report, and we are out.
All right.